Hey guys, this is Cam for 15, back at it with another video for you guys, and I'm back with another fairy tale arc reviews, and we are here to talk about, well, technically it's not really an arc review. This is kind of more of a movie review, but I'm counting this in the arc review because, hey, they're a part of the fairy tale anime, and I said I'd be reviewing anything anime related to the fairy tale storyline. Um, Even though I'm not reviewing the OVAs. But other than that, yeah. So we are talking about the first fairy tale movie in the series, and that is the Fairy Tale the movie, Phoenix Priestess. Um, and I'm fine with the movie. I'm honestly I like the movie. I like the movie a lot. Obviously, I have some criticisms, but other than that, I enjoyed the movie. It was a good watch when I watched it again. Very sad, especially at the end, and nice moments and good emotional moments there too. But yes. Now this movie came out in Japan, I believe, in theaters, um, August 18th, 2012, and for the English dub, it came out um, it came out September 13th, 2013, so a whole year. Um, but yes, this movie is an hour and 26-minute long movie. So it's a fairly decent, long movie, but it's not too long. Again, if you want to know where you can find this movie, I don't know if they have this movie stored onto Crunchyroll. I don't think they do. But you can watch this movie on Funimation, whether it's English or Japanese. I envision you probably have to have a subscription, especially if it's the English dub to see this film. Um, Otherwise, you're gonna have to do the honors of buying the DVD for it. Now, I had a Funimation subscription and I watched it, so yeah. But this is the very first fairy tale movie. Again, like I said, I want to count this in, and yeah. So this week we're gonna be talking about the movie. Next week we'll be talking about the Eclipse Celestial Spirits arc. Yeah, at least I found some way to hide the pain. But other than that, yeah. So essentially, I'm gonna just talk through the story points of the movie and just say if I like this point or not, and then we'll wrap this review up of this movie, and then yeah, I'll give my thoughts on each of the kind of the aspects of the movie, which is animation, characters, plot, and then antagonist of the film. So yeah, now, the fairy tale movie, Phoenix Priestess, starts off with this like celebration going on at this at what they later call the Fire Village and everything. But then, lo and behold, um, there's the Fire Village is attacked by these people who are trying to get the Phoenix Stone or the Phoenix Stones. And the thing is, we see this one person grab one of the Phoenix Stones and transports, obviously, what we later see is Eclair somewhere and tells them go to the Boundary Forest, which, right, we know as the viewer after you watch the movie, she has to go to the Boundary Forest to go look for what she's trying to look for. But obviously, there's this whole thing. So she literally goes walking, 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 and that's the thing that kind of starts this movie because of course, it's an anime movie where typically it's surrounded by the plot relevancy of the whole story going on, and then that's when we always also get introduced to our main characters of the series. Also, we see the opposing force that attacked the Fire Village take another half of the Phoenix stones, while we see obviously Eclair have another half of them. Now, this is when we cut to present day time, where obviously, like I said, in every anime movie, typically you start off with kind of the premise, a little bit of a mini backstory, you can say, that starts the movie off, then it leads into seeing obviously our characters, Natsu, Ray, Lucy, Urza, and Wendy, Happy, and Carla too. And essentially they're in this little tiny, I guess you can say, city, where they have to catch this, essentially this robber named Geese. And we see that his gang is getting in the way of that. So it's essentially as like obviously the movie starts on. It's just you see them obviously, trying to catch Geese and everything. Now, eventually, what happens is they do find Geese. Lucy tries to chase after Geese, but Geese ends up, getting away because he essentially can literally turn into Flat Stanley. He just goes through this tiny crack and crevice where Lucy can, and he literally turns into Flat Stanley. I'm guessing he has a magic that makes him as flat as a paper, so he gets away and stuff like that. Now they were doing this job to get like an enormous types of money, an enormous amount of money, but obviously, in typical fairy tale fashion, when they fail it, the person who gave them the job request was like, "You guys couldn't even freaking catch this one dude, and you tore up my city. Man, get the hell out of here! You're not getting no money," and stuff like that. So essentially, it was the whole no person, no money. Go, leave. You're gonna do it. I'll go get another guild to do the job they can't do. But I like how they pay. Now I like how they pay the Geese storyline off later on in the movie. So we actually cut over to the Magic Council, and they bring up something going on in the country of Veronica, which is in the northern part of, which is north of Fiore, which is a completely different country. Which out of the only two countries we've seen in Fairy Tale, which is Fiore and Alvarez, Veronica is just another new country. Now, it's not canon because this movie's non-canon to the fairy tale storyline. I'll speak on where this movie placement is soon. But yeah, I would say you can definitely fit the movies, both of them, not only Phoenix Priestess, but Dragon Cry, into the main continuity. And it would flow pretty nicely together, honestly. Because that's always the number one question with anime movies is, are they canon to the story? Or are they non-canon? Most of the movies like you see in Dragon Ball Z, the original Dragon Ball Z, are non-canon. Now, essentially with Super, and then the last two Dragon Ball Z movies, which were Battle of Gods and Revive Left, you clearly see that they were canon to the main timeline and the main storyline of the series. Here, I guess you can say it's semi-canon. It's one of these movies where it fits in the timeline of the series. It's just up to you if you want to believe if it's canon. It's the same feelings with the My Hero Academia movies, in my personal opinion. The My Hero Academia movies, they fit us pretty well in the timeline of the storyline. It's just up to you if you want to say if it's canon or not. It's strictly up to you. But we see the Magic Council speak on another country, and I was about to get to that whole statement. It is kind of interesting that, to be honest, Fairy Tale doesn't do a lot of world building. Like, we're only strictly in just select areas of Fiore. Like, there really is no world building in Fairy Tale, which I will say kind of takes away from the series. Now, with 100 Year Quest, they obviously go to different worlds and stuff like that. Well, obviously, we know they go to a different world, and they actually go out farther from Fiore. But I think here in the original series, they really don't go to very many places. It's either they go to a select place in Fiore, obviously Crocus, that's another location, Edalis, and that's it. And then they only drop in Alvarez one time just to go save Master Makarov, but we don't really see much of Alvarez, of how the terrain is and how it looks like and how different it is from Fiore. Honestly, there's not a lot of different like places the guild really goes to. Like, it's kind of it's just kind of it. So Now, at the end of in the final season of Fairy Tale, clearly we see that they go to other places like the Sabretooth Guild's location, and then obviously, Lamius Guild's location. But there's really not much. There's only like 5 or 6, places they uniquely say is there, which again, that doesn't really build up the world building, because some people like world building in their anime and background of what the world is like and stuff like that. But I would say that's one of the few criticisms. That's one of the very small nitpicks slash criticisms I have about the series is there's not enough world building. But hey, listen, it is what it is. So yeah. Now, essentially, they're talking about an explosion in this country that essentially had power similar to Zareth, and they're like, "Oh, we gotta wonder if we need to take care of this and stuff like that. Otherwise, we could be in some grave danger." Eventually, after this meeting or something like that, Makarov just tells Gajul, "Go fricking do some investigating and stuff like that, because hey, that's what Gajul does best. He investigated Raventail. He's gonna do this one too." So, speaking of that country, in the country of Veronica, we see two of the antagonists in this movie, and one of them is Prince Cream, and essentially he hires the Carbuncle Guild to capture Eclair, who has the other Phoenix Stone, in reward for 400 million jewels and plus fees of protecting the duration of the ceremony. Essentially, he's like, "Listen, I need you guys to capture this girl for me, because apparently she has this special stone that, once combined together, can essentially grant immortal life or immortality and stuff like that. And listen, I need you guys to do all this, and guess what? You'll be paid handsomely." Now, the one thing we don't know about the Carbuncle Guild is we don't know if they're a guild in Veronica or if they're a guild in Fiore. Who knows? I think they're probably a guild from the country of Veronica. So, yeah. Now, they go now after that whole scene. The Carbuncle Guild members, they're talking about this and everything. They're like, "Oh, we're about to be paid handsomely rich for just obtaining or just capturing this one girl." And Gajul essentially is in the bar and he overhears this whole conversation about it. So, yeah. Now, the one thing I forgot to mention too is after they get back from the mission, Fairy Tale, Natsu, Wendy, essentially Lucy's walking home, and that's when she runs into Eclair and her friend Momon, her little bird friend, who I don't know if a celestial spirit or so, but I'm guessing it's implied that it's a spirit. It's just some sort of bird that can talk. Now, we see Lucy takes Eclair to the guild hall, but essentially Eclair's kind of just like, what are you? I'm not doing anything. And she's kind of just like side-eyeing Lucy and stuff like that. Now, and it's the type of and this Eclair, it's the type of movie canon character where it's like, hey, either she's gonna leave by the end to go do her own fulfillment, or something tragic happens, which we see something tragic happens by the end of this movie when it comes to Eclair, because hey, she can't live on with the guild and stuff like that. But it's the type of character, it's the type of movie anime characters where they're only exclusive to the movie and they don't make any more appearances unless it's a movie. Something like that. Now, Carla gets a premonition or a vision in the future about Eclair when Eclair says she's going to go off to the Boundary Forest and look for it. Or she gives her the idea to go to the Boundary Forest, and she's like, "Oh yes, the Boundary Forest. I have to go there." But we find out the Boundary Forest is actually pretty damn dangerous, which is pretty funny because I played the freaking Fairy Tale game, and that's actually one of the landmarks in the game, and it's called the Boundary Forest. So pretty interesting and stuff like that. I will say this. Hey, at least I want to say, well, this is one of the few times Carla doesn't tell doesn't hide anything about the premonition. She literally says it. So at least in the movie, canonically, in movie canon, Carla will automatically tell everybody that she had a vision. Good. Let's keep it like that way. But that's probably not gonna happen. Other than that, yeah, so she has to go to the Boundary Forest, and that's what she was told, because she flashes back to what that old guy who's dying in front of her told her to do, and he was like, yo, you need to go to the Boundary Forest. Now she says she has to do that because she feels like she has a calling for her there. And Lucy says she wants to go, but Eclair at first declines because she's not really fond of magic users and she doesn't really like magic. And she says, which eventually is kind of a line Lucy says later on, I guess as a payoff, is the fact that Eclair thinks magic only brings sorrow to people, and stuff like that. But they try to do it. They try to make it seem to her like, hey, magic doesn't do it like that and everything. Magic actually makes a lot of people happy and stuff like that. So eventually the rest of the fairy tale like, listen, let us go with you. At least let us go, because it's a very dangerous, forest, and you can actually get yourself into like trouble. So yeah. Now on the way there, essentially we find out that Eclair doesn't know anything about her past, and the fact that she essentially has amnesia. Now they get to this new city that has just magic everywhere around, like like they had like freaking magic carpets and stuff like that. You see a montage of what some fairy tale members do, and you see it where like Natsu, he's eating a bunch of food, and then he has to pay like damn near over $400 because he ate out the entire damn thing. Lucy and Eclair kind of just connecting and having ones, even though Eclair's kind of just trying to stay to herself and everything. Wendy's just looking around. She gets to this one fair where I guess she couldn't do one of the little games they had at this booth, and she literally does her Sky Dragon magic, and I guess she got in trouble for that or stuff like that. Gray, he gets in trouble with the freaking police force in this city. I forgot if they don't give the city, I forgot if they don't give the city a name or something, but again, they give the Gray literally stripping down the more you see him. And by the time he's literally in his tidy whities, obviously the police chief is like bringing him in, and he actually gets like, I guess you could say serve time. Also, now supposed to serve time with the restaurant, him and Happy, because they ate so much and they can't pay for the food. They have to essentially, they essentially have to clean they essentially have to, obviously do the dishes and do some labor. And it honestly reminded me of that time back in the Baratier arc for One Piece, when Luffy destroyed a part of the Baratier, he didn't have the necessary funds to fix it, but he had to go do the work for the Baratier. And then, oh brother, my God, now I love this payoff later in the movie, but Urza literally is looking through. She sees a legit wedding dress, and she legit buys the wedding dress. And I'm watching this movie, and I'm like, I totally forgot she bought a wedding dress. One, you see Wendy and Carla look at them like, and she's like, why the hell is she buying a wedding dress? She literally buys a wedding dress, puts that in like, and I'm guessing we see also too, I guess, how her armor equipping requips works too in terms of her magic. Like she has kind of like this like whole type of like, I guess you can say interface, like, if you see those, isekai worlds with the gaming stuff, like for example Sword Art Online, where you had the obviously interface where you could choose what you want and stuff like that, like a menu option. You have her put the wedding dress, equip it into her, I guess, her equip type of gear, and she puts it in like the dress outfit. And I'm just watching this, I'm like, why does she need a wedding dress? Which, funny enough, I love how by the end in the climax of the film, they pay that wedding dress off in a funny ass way. And I'm like, is she trying to get married to Jalal or something? And it's funny because when they finally check into their hotels, they're all talking, and Wendy makes a mention. She's like, well, I don't know about, because I think it was Natsu who says, it's like, why does Urza look so overjoyed or look so happy? And Wendy's like, I think it's because she bought that wedding. I think it's because she bought a wedding dress. And everybody's like, wedding dress? Why'd she buy that? And then she looks back and she's like, does anybody have a problem or something? And they're like, oh no, man, no, 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 no. And it's like, that is a good question. So hey, at least she's getting the steps ready. Now listen, we all know. Listen, I've always said at the end of the day, Urza is a tough character. I love her character. She's probably one of my favorite characters who is a girl. But again, it's like I said in my initial, I think part one review, the fact that Urza still shows those girly tendencies from time to time. And having her wedding dress is eventually there and stuff like that. So yeah. Now, after checking into their rooms and stuff like that, Eclair, after Lucy comes out of the shower, essentially is saying, listen, I see the look in your eyes, and I see that in some cases we're similar. The fact that we've both felt sadness in some sort of way, or that you felt sadness. And essentially she's kind of taken aback because she thinks magic users can't really feel sadness. But obviously Lucy's like, well, yeah, I've had some sadness in the past. Oh, and then I forgot to mention, now, if this movie was canon, again, it's what you want to believe this movie is canon. This movie, I think I said in my last review, I think this movie takes place after Tenor Island. No, this movie actually takes place after the Grand Magic Games are, because every time Natsu and the others go back to the guild, it's the newly made guild hall that Magnolia made for Fairy Tale after coming back from the Grand Magic Games. So this arc literally takes place, if it was canon in the storyline, right after the Grand Magic Games arc, probably about a week or two after the Grand Magic Games arc, I would say, if it was canon. So that's where this movie would take place. Now, obviously, we know Lucy has felt a lot of sorrow within the past few arcs in terms of stuff like that. So yeah, now eventually they attack Lucy and Eclair in their hotel room, get attacked by one of the Carbuncle Guild members named Chase. Kind of is like, I guess, a ripoff of Rogue. He can hide in the shadows. Okay, so he has shadow magic. It's not shadow dragon slaying magic, but it's shadow magic. But he's literally Rogue. That's what he is. He hides in the shadows and he uses shadow magic. Okay, yeah, that sounds like a very great antagonist. Eventually, they call it to Natsu and Gray. Natsu and Gray track him down, but eventually he gets away. Now he knows that they're Fairy Tale, and he just escapes. You get this funny scene where, for the first time, and I think the only time in the Fairy Tale series, is where we see girl characters actually in the nude, and we can actually see that they don't, I guess you can say, do your typical Fairy Tale censoring out where they cover up. No, you get a where frickin' Lucy's towel literally frickin' just falls down, and Gray and Nuts are like, oh man. And that's when I think that's a very, very funny scene. And you literally see Lucy's butt in the nude. They don't show the front side, they don't show her boobs, even though technically they do that with Urza and the character Urza's going up against, which is Coordinator. They just, for some reason, and they do that. Now, for Urza, when she requips in this movie, they literally show the skin. The only thing is, they show the skin like as if she's naked taking a shower. They show the boobage, but they just don't show the nipples. I don't know why. Hey, listen, obviously they wanted to at least keep it, I guess, PG in some cases. But you can clearly see how big Urza's boobs are, and they actually show it. They just you don't see the nipples. Now, you could say, oh, the light's just too bright where they don't show the nipples, but hey, listen, if they're going to make this movie uncensored, you might as well just show it. It's not going to hurt. But yes, this is the first time we see Lucy's butt, and good God, she's thick. So you just have Natsu and Gray like, thank you, Gray stripping habits, and stuff like that. Because Natsu has like, hey, does your stripping rub off on anybody? And Gray's like, well, I don't know, but if it does, we are lucky people. Good thing Juvia didn't see that, because she would be going insane. So essentially, what happens is Eclair then remembers that she was told to go to the Boundary Forest to give the Phoenix Stone to a guy named Callard. Now, when they get to the forest and after taking care of most of the monsters in the forest, they get to this one. They get to Callard's old house and they find this underground area in it. And essentially, one, they find a picture of Eclair as when she was a kid, and then they see this, I guess, video lacrima coming up of this guy saying that there are people looking for her. Now we find out that that is Callard, or Callard, and he reveals himself to be Eclair's father, and he tells him that what his mission was in terms of the Phoenix Stones was to find a way to dispel the magic out of the Phoenix Stones so nobody could use that power ever again to destroy the world. Now, Eclair obviously gets very emotional about this, and then a little part of her memory is obviously remembered. And after finding this out, obviously, one, we kind of found out that, well, two, we also find out Eclair is like 400 years freaking old, too. And she's essentially been immortal traveling through all this time, and she hasn't been dead yet. And in her case, that's why you could say it makes sense for her that she says that magic obviously brings a lot of sorrow, because when she would make these connections with people, I'm guessing over time, because she's immortal and she's lived over 400 years, well, she can't die. So the people she more than likely makes connections with, they do end up dying, and stuff like that. So that's why to her, magic is sorrow. It has sadness in it. And you get this very emotional scene where Lucy comes up on her, and that's when she says, "Hey, I know what you're feeling like. I know how you feel. I lost my dad not too long ago, and I never was even there to be by his side when he did pass away." It was a good moment. I love this moment. This moment was definitely a very sad moment because, hey, Lucy can relate to Eclair. These Eclair never got to witness being by her father's side when he passed away. Same with Lucy and stuff like that. Which also, again, like I said, further it's the point that this arc takes place after Grand Magic Games arc and stuff like that. Now, after they connect, which is a nice, lovely scene between Lucy and Eclair, Eclair requests that the Fairy Tale Guild job is to dispel the curse of the Phoenix Stone. And that's when they go back to the guild hall. They try to do it. Natsu tries to destroy it by force, but it doesn't work. And essentially, Eclair brings up a fact because they ask, okay, this is clearly one half. Where's the other half? And Eclair is like, something about Veronica or something like that. And then that's when they're like, oh, you mean the Kingdom of Veronica and stuff like that. Then lo and behold, Fairy Tale's guild hall gets attacked by the Carbuncle Guild, disting his members, which this isn't the first or the last times. Every time the freaking guild hall gets destroyed by Fairy Tale, their guild hall always be getting destroyed, man. Essentially what happens is we see Dist, he has telekinesis magic, like essentially like he was a Star Wars character and he just forces people. He takes out Natsu. Canon just uses magic that, well, has like legit cannons and guns. He uses magic bullets to defeat Gray and Juvia, where Juvia can't act like if she's a Logia, where regular bullets don't affect her. Magic bullets affect her because they can actually harm her and stuff like that. So yeah. And then Coordinator, she is essentially requip magic, but she also has the magic to like essentially take away your magic and just deform your magic and make sure your magic doesn't activate and stuff like that. So she easily takes care of Urza, Elfman and Mary Jane and stuff like that. Eventually what happens is they beat them down pretty badly and they take Eclair away, which again, in your typical movie sense, you typically come across the antagonist where they eventually beat up the main characters so bad in the film that they leave them just like defeated and everything. And then, yeah, So that's the thing. Now, Lucy kind of blames herself for not helping out Eclair, and that's kind of her thing this entire movie. That's kind of her thing this movie where, Lucy's like, I'm not strong enough to protect people and stuff like that, which I don't know why they gave Lucy that kind of side plot this story, because Because if this takes place over the Grand Magic Games, we clearly see that Lucy can clearly take care of herself pretty effectively. So I don't know why they gave this storyline to why Lucy's saying, "Oh, I can't protect anybody because I'm too weak." And I'm like, what? That makes no sense. I'm like, how many arcs we've been through and you've actually handled things on your own? The only time you could say she's had this type of thing was in the Key of the Starry Sky arc, and that's not even canon arc. That's a straight up filler arc. Um, so why would she even think that? And that was all in the response of her not being able to protect Michelle, which she turned into the damsel in distress character in that arc. But okay, we're gonna bring this whole plot line up that Lucy can't protect nobody. But okay, yeah, or she can't defeat strong enemies. Whatever. So, anyways, we see Gajul, Makarov, and Lily come back, and that's when they explain, what the hell's going on. Now, they say that the two Phoenix Stones, there are two Phoenix Stones. One is in the possession of Prince Cream and Veronica, as well as the other one in Eclair. They said essentially, Cream's plan is to combine the stones and summon the Phoenix, granting him immortality, which is eternal life. Also, the fact that there's going to be a Phoenix coming out that essentially could destroy the world. And since you're immortal, you'll see the world's destruction, but you won't die from it. You'll just literally stay alive. Everything. Now, Lucy wants to rescue Eclair, and the others also join. Juvia and Gajul also join in on that effort as well. Now, in Veronica, we see Eclair meet, or Cream meet Eclair. She tells him to not revive the Phoenix because you literally will end the world. And she even headbutts him, and then he kind of cuts her up. So, yeah. Now, this is when Makarov goes back to the Magic Council, and the Magic Council essentially, and Makarov tells him, the Magic Council, like, hey, the country of Veronica is going to use this revival of the Phoenix, and you're going to use it to destroy the world. We need to do something. We need to get the weapon to be able to essentially defeat it. Otherwise, we're all dead. And the Magic Council, because the Magic Council is just, stupid, especially the new Magic Council. They're just like, sorry, Makarov, we can't grant you that request because it makes no sense, and we don't want to go to a measly war of another country. And I'm like, Magic Council. Oh, I cannot wait. Just got to get through the Eclipse Celestial Spirits arc, so then I can start the Tartaros arc where they literally die. Oh, I can't wait to talk about that. That's probably one of my favorite moments in Fairy Tail as a whole, which also shows you the threat of not only Tartaros, but the fact that they finally got rid of the Magic Council. Because the Magic Council, again, I've always said this. I'm like, the new Magic Council essentially is a bunch of assholes who say they know what they're doing, but they really don't know what they're doing. So yeah, it's so stupid. Anyways, because of this pisses off Makarov and everything. We see them later do what it is. Now, this is when we see Cream start the ritual. Now, Fairy Tail, as they're getting to Veronica, that's when they start having their individual battles. Natsu starts fighting Disc, but we see him get his ass kicked. Urza fights Coordinator in a pretty interesting battle. And stuff like that. Wendy and Lily fight some Carbuncle Guild wizards. Gajul fights Chase in the sewers, and Grand Juvia fight Cannon. Lucy goes on to try to save Eclair. Now, Mon back in the disc fight is trying his hardest to save Eclair, but he kind of gets sent down. Now, Natsu tries to fight back, but loses easily. Urza, mostly, this is kind of the part where still the antagonists kind of get the upper hand on the Fairy Tail members, but then we see Urza defeat Coordinator in legit her wedding dress, which I thought was a funny payoff. And Urza's wedding dress was the one outfit that Coordinator couldn't just make Urza go back to her base stuff and have her not use any magic. She literally beats her with utter ease. Gajul defeats Chase literally by just sticking an Iron Dragon sword where the shadows are going around and just literally takes him out of the shadow. Yeah. Gray and Juvia, mostly Gray defeats Cannon from the standpoint of he just uses Ice Make Excalibur. The one thing I will do, I did like funny about the whole Gray Juvia dynamics, the fact that Juvia is getting the wrong idea. She's thinking Cannon's into freaking Gray, but because he's calling Gray pretty boy, but you know, these villains kind of go down. The side villains in the Carbuncle Guild go down pretty easily and stuff like that. So yeah. Now, as the ritual is starting, Cream first combines the Phoenix Stones. We also see this fire essentially, surround Eclair as a sacrifice. But Mon goes into the fire to save Eclair. Eventually, we see that he saves her, and also too, we get the whole bait and switch where guess what? Dis wants to take the Phoenix Stones all for himself to get immortality and everything. Who didn't see that coming? Because it's just like, oh, why would an evil, superpowered up evil character, let the rich, bratty, royal character be immortal? So, yeah. So what happens is he summons essentially the Phoenix. Dis summons the Phoenix, but it's not really like what you would think a Phoenix is, which essentially is a firebird. It is legit a robot mech that they call the Phoenix that essentially is going on a rampage and everything. Now, we find out Eclair's still alive because Mon sacrificed his life to save her. So what happens is Natsu goes on to go fight Dis. Now, Eclair, we find out in this whole issue going on because it's literally apocalypse on Earth again. It's kind of a rehash of the Grand Magic Games arc at the end with the dragons attacking. It's just this time it's one gigantic ass mech destroying the entire city. We find out that Eclair has her memories finally returned to her, and we find out that Veronica is the city that built itself, or the kingdom that's built itself upon the fire village 400 years ago. And we see that after that incident, she was given eternal life 400 years ago. That's how she was able to live for all these years and never die. And you're wondering, why the hell is she, still alive to this? Also explains why she's also young as shit, because when you're immortal, you really technically never age, or because you're not dead, you're not dying, so you never age or anything. Now, we see obviously the main members who are here are trying to attack the Phoenix. None of their attacks are doing any damage. Nazo continues his fight with Dist, and it's kind of right then and there. Now Makarov, he comes with Jet with this thing from the Magic Council, with this like box from the Magic Council. He tells Urza, and Urza's like, "Oh, you got it from the Magic Council," and essentially. Makarov stole the weapon, which we see as the arrow, from the Magic Council to be able to save the day. Which obviously Makarov took this into his own kind. And now I watched the English dub of this movie, and Makarov's like, "The Magic Council be damned," which essentially I love it. Again, like I said, I can't wait for the Magic Council when I get to the Tartarus arc to finally see that first part of the Tartarus arc where the Magic Council just dies. That part is just, to me as a fairy tale fan, I love it when the Magic Council just explodes and they're all dead. So yeah. Now we see as this is going, Eclair and Lucy running, they eventually almost fall into this bottomless pit to their deaths. And like I was speaking about the Geese payoff, Geese actually comes in and saves Lucy, and he kind of says, "Oh, you should be thanking me, freaking little lady," or something like that, or princess or whatever like that. He's like, "Look, if you had caught me back then, I wouldn't have been here to save you, huh?" So yeah, we found out he was kind of here because he heard about the Phoenix Stones. He was like, "I thought I could find a way to steal it and then maybe sell it for a high price." So I like that whole payoff because it's kind of like the whole circle, rolls around. Because even Eclair brings it up. She's like, "You just know a lot of people, don't you?" Which is kind of a thing where it's like, oh, you make connections with even if it's like the slightest connections where you barely talk with somebody. So I do like that they paid off that Geese moment off later in the movie and stuff like that. Now, eventually we see the rest of the guild show up. They try to attack, obviously, the Phoenix. They're not doing any damage. Obviously, at the same time, Natsu ends up defeating Disc. This whole thing was the fact of Natsu defeating Disc. That whole kind of like philosophical battle there. Not really philosophical, but essentially, Disc is just a power-hungry dude. And Natsu's telling him, if you think you're going to control everybody, you're wrong about that. And that's how you can't, live in this world. Essentially, but saying you can't rule by an iron fist and try to control everybody because everybody has their own free will to do what they want to do. He ends up defeating Disc, but they still have to take down the Phoenix. Now, the Phoenix eventually starts absorbing everybody's power, magic power, and that's what Eclair says. She's like, by doing this, essentially, that's where the Phoenix is just going to destroy everything and everybody's going to die. Now, Makarov comes up and he says, tells Lucy and Eclair that they can defeat the Phoenix with a weapon that Callard made, which is essentially the type of magic he was used to dispel, obviously, the curse, and that is the Arrow of Evil's destruction. The only problem with this whole thing is the fact that once using this arrow to defeat the Phoenix, anybody with the Phoenix blood inside of them will die. And Eclair's completely okay with that. She's like, well, you have my blessing. Please do it because you have to save the world. But Lucy's totally against Eclair dying. And essentially Eclair is saying, like, don't worry, Lucy. The memories we made together throughout the time we've known each other so far, we're always those memories are always going to be together and stuff like that. So what happens is Makarov makes Urza fire the arrow. Now, Urza doesn't know that if she fires this arrow, she'll be essentially killing Eclair. And she fires it, it sticks in there, but the only thing is the Phoenix still gets the attack off. And essentially, in this moment, the spirit of Eclair talks to Natsu and tells him, listen, you need to freaking force that arrow and put it in the Phoenix to destroy it. So that's when you have Natsu force it in, and he finishes the Phoenix off. When the Phoenix is done, it's destroyed, Eclair literally dies. The movie actually has it to where she's dead, and screen blacks out. Obviously, we have Lucy crying emotionally, and the last scene in the movie is Natsu walking up to Lucy while everybody is mourning the death of Eclair. Urza's already saying, like, I didn't even know that would happen. And you just have every fairy tale member just mourning the death. Natsu comes up on Lucy. Lucy obviously asks the question that Eclair, said early in the movie, and she's like, is it true? And Lucy asks Natsu, like, is it true that magic only brings sadness or sorrow? And Natsu kind of just says no, by shaking his head. And Lucy goes to him and she's like, well, then can magic also prevent me from crying this much and stuff like that? And essentially Natsu tells Lucy, listen, when he saw the spirit of Eclair flying up, obviously, to the afterlife, he told Lucy the one thing he saw about Eclair is that she was smiling and that she was happy. And he essentially says, listen, we're all in this together. We're all gonna suffer this pain together. And they embrace, which is a great Nalu moment, to say the least. It's a wonderful Nalu moment. Honestly, I would probably say, even though this is non-canon, it's probably the best Nalu moment in the movie. And the movie ends. That's how the movie ends. Oh my God. Yes, the movie ends literally. It just goes to credits. We get the post-credits scene while obviously the credits are going on and everything. But that's how the movie ends. The movie ends literally after a character dies in the movie. I never would have seen that coming, because typically with these anime movies, they ended in a way where, yes, if the movie canon character dies or goes away, they have a heartfelt, good, somewhat good ending type of way where eventually characters are like, time to move on to the future and stuff like that. Nope, not here at all. They literally end the movie off, making you probably leaving the movie theater in tears, crying, then leaving you with a happy ending. Now, the post-credit scene, while the credits are going on, you see background images of what's going on after the events of the Phoenix attack. The city of Veronica essentially is rebuilding. Fairy Tale rebuilds their guild hall, and then Lucy ends up seeing the spirit of Eclair walking through Magnolia, looking back at her, and this makes Lucy happy, and that's how the movie ends. So very sad moment in the movie. I think that's one of the saddest moments in Fairy Tale. Definitely a very emotional, sad moment for Lucy's character and everything. And yeah, I never would have thought to see that coming. Typically with these anime movies, that's typically what happens. You have an anime only character, you have a movie canon character. That's their job. Either they come across to the point where, they eventually go their own separate ways from the main cast, or they end up kicking the bucket because, hey, that's how movies and anime are because they're not canon. And stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of how the movie ends. Now, character-wise, I liked Eclair. You definitely felt in some cases, that she was a character that didn't have a trust in magic, mostly because she had the amnesia, but because really magic really didn't bring her any happiness at the end. At the end of the day, until really she met Lucy and she could relate to Lucy. That's when she had this new appreciation for magic and creating bonds with people and stuff like that. And it was a very emotional way how she went out. Definitely after she dies, it's definitely a tearjerker of a scene. You can definitely cry about it and stuff like that. The fairy tale characters, in terms of the characters we see in the movie, mostly which are the main characters, they're essentially their same selves from their anime counterparts, had the same exact character. So yeah, I do like that this movie is focused on Lucy too. And I think she was pretty good in this film. So yeah. Now some elements of the movie that I didn't like. I'm not trying to say I didn't like the plot, but if we're gonna be honest, the plot was kind of a bland plot. It's kind of just a typical movie plot. And what I mean by that is there's a MacGuffin in this film around a character, around a movie character, that the antagonists are trying to get this MacGuffin. When they do finally get this MacGuffin of a character, well, you find some more background information about the character, about that movie canon character. Eventually, the antagonists grab and steal and take away, obviously, that said character. You get what they need, try to use it for their own things, find out that it's completely worse than what they thought it was, and then, yeah. And they eventually, our heroes come back to defeat the antagonists and save the day. Yeah, other than really the whole mystery of Eclair and stuff like that and who she is, and what the hell the Phoenix is, this story is kind of bland and it's kind of meh. Like, it's not bad. By Fairy Tale story, I guess it's a fairly solid to decent story, so you'll take it, but it's nothing world building. It's nothing groundbreaking where it's like, oh shit, that was cool. Now, you can be feeling different, but I didn't think the story was all that bad. Animation, I like the animation. Now, there were some parts earlier in the movie where the animation isn't as good. Like, I would honestly think the main anime is better in terms of animation. But when you get to that climax scene, the animation is great. Like, the ending of the Natsu disc battle, that was phenomenal animation, including, the Phoenix, battle. The animation was good there too. So last up, before I get out of here, is talking about the antagonists, the villains of the movie. And they're probably the worst thing about this movie. I'm a fan. My thing is this. I don't know if I've said this in the past, in my past ARC reviews, but I'll say it here. What I feel makes a great villain is if, one, they have a great conviction to do, which is, why are they doing what they're doing? Are they doing it for are they doing it for a way that's unique that I wouldn't see every now and then? What's their motive? And two, do you get me to hate these villains? If you can if you can fulfill that type of, I guess, expectation for me, I'll say you got a pretty great villain, a pretty great antagonist. You make me actively hate them. You make me find and understand their motives, that makes sense, or it's not like a typical bland villain plot, then I'm good. And I'm sorry, but Cream, let's not talk about him. He was a horrible antagonist. The Carbuncle Guild, they were horrible antagonists. The Phoenix, I thought it was cool for the most part of the fact that it was your typical kaiju battle, your main characters go against. So I'm not going to really blame the Phoenix type. It's kind of just a thing that they have to defeat. But the main, so there's really no motive. The Phoenix motive is to destroy the world. That's its thing. So I'm not really going to talk about the Phoenix. I thought the Phoenix was pretty cool, though. I'll say that. And I do like the whole twist that you think it's an actual like Firebird Phoenix. Oh, hell no, it's not. It's a legit gigantic robot mech that just is super powerful, which, again, you go to question how old 400 years ago was this mech like built and stuff like that. So, yeah, but Cream, I don't even want to talk about him. He was a pathetic villain. One, Cream barely gets any showtime whatsoever for me to even hate him. The only thing I could come out hating Cream is the fact that he cut up Eclair. That's it. Other than that, I don't care about Cream. Now, the Carbuncle Guild, they were pathetic. The Carbuncle Guild was just straight up pathetic because they really have no freaking motives, and I don't really hate them. I honestly find the Carbuncle Guild members annoying, to be completely honest. The Carbuncle Guild is annoying. They don't elude any hate from me where I hate them. They don't have a specific motive. Literally, they're just there to retrieve the girl under Cream's orders, bring him back, and then your job is done. You get paid handsomely. What the hell? So they're your typical shit type of antagonists where they come across their characters, kick their ass the first encounter, they come back, and then they eventually get their asses handed to them because our heroes can combat them better and they know their strengths and weaknesses. Before we talk about Dist, Coordinator, I think, was the one character that probably out of the side cast in terms of the Carbuncle Guild members that I cared about the most, and actually probably got, the most strut, that probably made the characters in Fairy Tail struggle the most. Mostly because they probably wanted to give you a pretty funny, badass Urza scene. So I'm guessing that's the whole thing. And two, I did like the fact that she could re-equip and as well as take away people's magic, because that's a hard wizard to combat against. So I liked Coordinator probably the most out of the three little, underhanded trio of the Carbuncle Guild. Cannon could care completely less. To me, I felt like he was just a cannon. To me, Cannon felt like he was just a complete, comedic character in the aspect of making you get laughs for Juvie getting pissed off thinking that Cannon's into Gray like that. Chase, pathetic. He was there trying to kill Eclair the first part, and then when he finally comes back, he easily gets spotted away by Gajiel. Literally, the way he gets defeated is so damn simple. Literally, Gajiel sticks his Iron Dragon sword in the fucking wall. He has his shadows going around in a circle, and Gajiel just kicks his shadow out. Like, at least freaking be, at least be freaking, creative with how you take these villains down. Like Urza. The Urza one, I thought the Urza takedown, I thought was pretty cool. Urza bought a wedding dress early in the film. They pay off that wedding dress when she takes her out in the wedding dress. Also, I did forgot to mention in that fight that Coordinator, after she gets taken down, she's like, you're very strong, Titania, but the point of the wedding dress, are you looking to get married or something? And I'm like, oh yeah, she's planning on getting married for Jalal. She's getting everything ready so she can get married to Jalal. Are we gonna get a wedding at the end of 100-year quest between her and Jalal? I'll take it. But I like how they paid that off with the wedding dress. They didn't pay anything off with the Gray stuff. No, Gajiel, so they didn't pay anything off. Gajiel could have went Iron Shadow Dragon. Now, I don't know if this movie was taking place during the Grand Magic Games arc or if it took place after it. I'm guessing it did take place. So I don't know why they didn't make Gradual go Iron Shadow Dragon, where you can go into the shadows. Like, oh yeah, I can do that too, you know. And he pulls him out, and then he kicks his ass that way. That would have been creative. I would have been like, that's cool, takedown. Nope, don't do that. And then Dist. He is your generic, bland main antagonist too. He's your typical twirly mustache. I want this MacGuffin, which is the Phoenix Stones, so I can have immortality and rule the world and rule with an iron fist. And literally, this final battle with Natsu is Natsu saying, you can't do that. That's not right. You know, you don't have any control over people, and you can't tell them what to do. This was your typical villain that's like, I'm going to take over the world, and it's going to be mine, and everybody's going to have to listen to me. Really? Really? That's your motive? Just take over the world. That's pretty bland in my opinion. Hell, even some of the more weaker fairy tale villains are better than this clown. At least they have some sort of fucking motive. This guy is just like, I'm going to take over the world, which is your typical anime movie bad guy plot, which is stuff you would see like in the early One Piece movies and stuff like that. And trust me, the early One Piece movies aren't good either. But in this case, all right, fine. You know, I guess for the fairy tale movie, it's good enough there. But even there for a fairy tale movie, I still feel like it's like, bro, there's even some more bland freaking, like, I'm like, bro, I'd even take the Eisenwald Guild antagonist. I would take Aragorn from Eisenwald arc over Dist in terms of his damn plot relevancy. At least he had a fucking motive. He's like, oh, I'm going to destroy and I'm going to kill the guild masters with Lullaby. I honestly think that's even more convincing of a plot. Like, oh, we actually need to stop that. This guy, he's just like, I just want to attain this power so then I can be freaking, you know, immortal and control everybody. Yes, there's some semblance of you need to stop this guy, but it's like, but why do you need to, why do you feel this way? Did you feel like you were wronged in your past? Do you feel were you under somebody who made you do all these things that you didn't like and you want to get that taste? You know, we never get any backstory about the Carbuncle Guild. We don't know where they came from. We don't know what their motives are. We don't know what their past life is. And I know mostly you're trying to cater more to Eclair than these guys, but at least give us a little bit more backstory for the Carbuncle Guild, and say like, hey, maybe they don't like their master ruling them with an iron fist, and maybe they want to get back at them. They get back and be like, we're sick and tired of being ruled under, being told what to do. We want to take things into our own hand, and I want to rule the world for my own reasons. Even though it's the same type of plot, at least you get some background information of why the character of Dist is doing what he's doing. He's just doing it because, hey, fucks and giggles and stuff like that. And I'm like, what? That's not convincing. Now, listen, the movie, like I said at the start of this video, is only a 1 hour and 26-minute long movie. You're not going to fit everything I would like to see fit in this movie into a 1 hour and 26-minute movie. That's not even a 1 hour and 30-minute movie. That's a 1 hour and 26. It's literally a damn near short movie, to be honest. It's honestly, it's still fairly, it's a long movie, but it's not that long. Like, honestly, an hour and 26 minutes, that's not long. That's literally like half an hour. So, you know, it's literally like an hour and a half movie. So that's probably another thing that could also figure into the fact that I'm probably critiquing this movie in terms of the plot and obviously the antagonist and how they don't do it for me, because this movie is just, in terms of time, it's just too short. That's the one thing about anime movies that sucks. With anime movies, you typically don't get those 2 hour movies like a real legit movie. The movie is typically around an hour and 30 or an hour and 45 minutes long. That's it. That's for every anime movie. And for anime movies, you would like to fit a lot more in, but you can't because you're only restricted to this time. I'm still waiting for the time we get a full 2 hour anime movie. I don't understand why Japan just doesn't make 2-hour anime movies. Because trust and believe, I'll say for a 2-hour anime movie, especially if you're going to give more character depth to characters in that allotted time. So yeah, that's kind of it. Listen, just because I ripped on the plot points and the antagonist doesn't mean I hate this movie. Honestly, I think this movie's good and I like it. I think it's an enjoyable film. You know, in terms of me rewatching this movie, would I rewatch this movie over and over and over and over again? No, I wouldn't. It'd be the type of movie, anime movie, especially anime movie, where, you know, it's not like a Dragon Ball Super Broly or a Heroes Rising where I would watch it damn near almost every week, or I could see myself watching it every week of every month. No, Fairy Tail Phoenix Priestess is a good, nice little popcorn flick that I could watch once every month or two, or once every 2 to 3 months. And I'd be like, oh yeah, that's a good movie. I enjoyed it. It's not impressive, but I enjoyed it. And then I'd probably stop watching it and go on another break and then probably watch it again in another 3 to 4 months. That's what Phoenix Priestess is. I think it's a good movie. I just don't think it's superiorly good. Like, I don't think it's great. I don't think it's epic. I just think it's good. So in other words, a solid B, C+ film in terms of by anime standards, in my opinion, because I've seen better anime movies than this. Hell, you know, I think the Sword Art Online movie is better. I think definitely the My Hero Academia movies are better. The Dragon Ball movies are better. One Piece movies and some One Piece movies are better than this. So yeah, that's just my thoughts. But yeah, that's it. So yeah. So if you guys like the video, leave a like, put in the comment section your thoughts on Fairy Tail the movie, Phoenix Priestess. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Is there any points you agree with me on the movie and stuff like that? As well as hit the subscribe button to get more Fairy Tail arc reviews coming forward. Again, I'm dishing out as much as I can. And when you do hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit that notification bell icon to be, well, updated of whenever I upload to the channel. Other than that, guys, I'm MacGyver. So on the next Fairy Tail arc review, we are going to be talking about probably the worst arc in the series. And I even don't care, even if it's non-canon. You're here. Oh my God. I actually have to rewatch this arc again. Why? Why did I do this to myself? Next Monday, on the premiere episode of Fairy Tail Arc Reviews, Camp 315's Fairy Tail Arc Reviews, we will be getting into the Eclipse Celestial Spirits arc, which is the filler anime-only arc, which covers what happens if the Celestial Spirits went evil, which they did go evil because of the Eclipse Gate. And yes, we'll talk about it. And my problems with the arc. Sneak peek, I will see this. I like the idea, I just don't think it's executed well. And I had to watch it. This was not my favorite arc. I think this is the worst arc in Fairy Tail, and I hate it. Nothing in my mind can change me. Other than that, that's it. So then, guys, I'll catch you for next week's video of pain. See you guys next Monday. Peace.